Hello and welcome to CNC Special Report. The year 2018 is coming to an end. Today I'm joined by my AI colleague that is modeled on me, and we'll present you this year's top 10 world news events picked by Xinhua News Agency.
Hello, Zhang Zhao.
And we'll start with China-US trade disputes. On March the 8th, the United States announced tariff hikes on steel and aluminium imports from many of its trading partners, followed by steep additional tariffs later in the year against Chinese imports. So, AI anchor, what happened next?
The protectionist move sparked a spiral of extensive trade disputes, which undermined global free trade and rules-based multilateralism, provoking sharp criticism and countermeasures by other countries.
Thanks. For China, this year marked the 40th anniversary of China's reform and opening up. Moving forward, the country is determined to open up further. So what has Chinese President Xi Jinping said and done about this?
On April 10, Chinese President Xi Jinping announced, at the Boao Forum for Asia, measures that would allow China to open up further, and in November, he attended the first China International Import Expo in Shanghai in December, addressing the conference in Beijing marking the 40th anniversary of China's reform and opening up. She urged sustained efforts to open up further and push for a community with a shared future for mankind.
And we have seen the repeated message of China's further opening up injected strong energy into international efforts to build an open global economy. It was consistent with President Xi's calls for efforts to build an open regional economy at APEC leaders meeting in Papua New Guinea and to stay committed to openness, cooperation and trade multilateralism at the G20 summit in Argentina. Next, we turn to the Korean Peninsula. The situation there improves, but challenges remain.
On April 27, Kim Jong-un, top leader of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea (DPRK), crossed the military demarcation line in Panmunjom to attend a historic summit with South Korean President Moon Jae-in. Situation on the peninsula has taken a turn for the better this year, as Kim paid 3 visits to China and had 3 North-South summits. On June 12, the first ever Pyongyang-Washington summit took place, with Kim meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump in Singapore, and reaching consensus on the peninsula's denuclearization and peace regime. The peninsula saw a détente under international efforts, with confrontation turning into dialogue. Meanwhile, differences over sanctions and how to denuclearize, among other issues, remain challenges to the peace process.
Indeed, and in Middle East, the geopolitical hotspots flare up again. On May the 14th, the United States moved its embassy in Israel to Jerusalem, provoking fierce protest from the Palestinians and widespread international condemnation and worsening regional tensions. In October, the murder of Saudi journalist Jamal Khashoggi at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul caused global concern and affected relations between major stakeholders. In late December, Washington said it would withdraw its troops from Syria, where fighting continued despite an easing of tensions. Geopolitical games were filled in the Middle East turbulence, involving major rivals from within and outside the region and increasing the risk of further destabilizing the Gulf. Back to China. China's major country diplomacy creates new landscape. On July the 19th, Chinese President Xi Jinping left for the Middle East and Africa in his first overseas visit of 2018. Xi diplomacy featured 4 foreign tours and 4 major home court events as part of China's diplomatic efforts this year.
Among the results were China-Russia ties remaining at a high level, the China-Europe bond strengthened, and the situation in China's neighborhood improved. Moreover, South-South cooperation has increased with more than 50 countries and international organizations signing a memorandum of understanding on Belt and Road Initiative cooperation with China. Diplomacy has helped China achieve win-win cooperation with the rest of the world and play a larger role.
And now we look at Indonesia. On September the 28th, a magnitude 7.4 earthquake hit Indonesia's central Sulawesi province and triggered a tsunami, causing the heaviest casualties in the year's natural disasters worldwide, with 2,073 people killed, some 680 missing and presumed dead, and 10,700 injured. And very recently,
In December, a tsunami that hit the coastlines of Western Java Island and South Sumatra caused 431 deaths. International humanitarian aid poured into Indonesia, helping with rescue operations, relief work, and rebuilding the affected areas.
Thank you, AI anchor. Over to Latin America. Election is the key word this year for the region. Tell us more.
On October 28, Brazil's presidential runoff produced President-elect Jair Bolsonaro, who will join the new Latin American leaders elected this year in the countries of Costa Rica, Cuba, Paraguay, Venezuela, Colombia and Mexico. The updated political map in Latin America is expected to aggravate the challenges facing regional integration, with left-right conflicts potentially impeding policy making.
Thank you, AI anchor. For Britain this year, Brexit seems not an easy exit. AI anchor, would you please give us a context?
On November 13, Britain arrived at a draft Brexit agreement with the European Union (EU), and on November 25, the EU leaders officially approved the deal amid iterated opposition in Britain. In mid-December, the British Parliament vote on the Brexit deal was delayed, and Prime Minister Theresa May survived a no-confidence vote within her own party one day after her efforts to seek to renegotiate with Brussels failed. Brexit-related arguments were laden with rivalries either between London and Brussels, or between British political groupings. Uncertainties remain, as the Brexit deadline of March 29 draws near.
Crossed the English Channel and we saw the Yellow Vest movement swept France. On the weekend from November the 17th, French demonstrators wearing yellow vests, usually worn by drivers, took to the streets to protest rising fuel prices that resulted from the government's tax hikes. Some protests went violent.
On the weekends from November 17th, French demonstrators wearing yellow vests usually worn by drivers took to the streets to protest rising fuel prices that have resulted from the government's tax hikes. Protests in Paris and other cities became violent with robberies and arson attacks staged by extremists and rogues, leading to the arrest of thousands. French President Emmanuel Macron announced social measures to appease the public. The chaos has harmed the French economy badly and spread to other countries, including Belgium, indicating deep-seated problems, such as economic and social gaps in Europe.
Last but not least, Sino-US relations. On December the 1st, Chinese President Xi Jinping and his US counterpart Donald Trump met in Buenos Aires on the sidelines of the G20 summit and reached important consensus.
On deck, first, Chinese President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Donald Trump met in Buenos Aires on the sidelines of the G20 summit and reached important consensus. In directing efforts to solve the problems that may affect ties, they agreed to jointly promote a China-US relationship based on coordination, cooperation and stability, and promote exchanges and cooperation in various fields to achieve more results. On trade issues, the two sides reached a principled consensus, including holding additional tariffs, making efforts toward returning to talks to settle disputes. This has created positive expectations for the global economy and trade.
And that's all we have for the top 10 world news events in 2018. Thank you for watching our special report. Goodbye and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year!